Did you know Chatgpt is actually programmed to gaslight you? So, as you can see here, the AI appears to be either trained or explicitly programmed to throttle user activity, even for paid plus subscribers. I'm not sure whether the same restrictions apply to pro users, but it's an important distinction to make. At the time of this recording, plus users are supposed to receive 50 image generations per hour as part of their subscription benefits. That image generation allowance was a key reason I opted against using the free version. This information is pulled directly from ChatGPT itself. However, we already know it's not exactly reliable. It's worth noting that throttling is typically managed through a mix of usage tracking and server load balancing. When a user exceeds certain thresholds, whether it's image generation, token usage, or session activity, the system may temporarily delay or restrict access to maintain overall performance and fairness. These thresholds can also shift dynamically depending on current server demand, or changes to OpenAI's internal policies. Now let's be realistic. Server loads and occasional wait times are to be expected, even for a premium product like this. I'm not upset about that. Unlimited usage for everyone would undoubtedly strain the infrastructure and of course hurt the all-important bottom line for companies like Google and OpenAI. What I do, however, take issue with is the lack of transparency. ChatGPT doesn't always make it clear when or why you're being throttled, and it can just straight up lie to you. Now, for the free version, this might not be such a problem, but when you're actually paying for it, I feel like it's a little disingenuous when it lies to you about its capabilities when it clearly can do it, especially when you haven't even hit your limit. And this is made worse by the fact that you're actually specifically paying for these things that it says it cannot do for you, even though it can. Okay, to help break this down a little bit more, let's actually do some definitions here. Okay, well, I couldn't have made this up, even if I tried. This is kind of funny. I was actually asking it to give me the definition of what a punt is when it comes to AI, and I'm actually about to break this down in the video. But I wanted to just get a little image of it instead of typing it out. And ironically enough, I asked it to generate an image of a punt, and instead of generating the image, it just literally said it couldn't generate the image, which is actually a punt in and of itself, so that's kind of funny. In AI behavior, a punt refers to when the system avoids giving a full or direct answer. It's a subtle sidestep used not because the model can't answer it, but because it's been trained not to. And reasons, of course, may vary, but here are some common reasons why. And I have worked with these specifically. One of the most important ones are for safety reasons. It'll say something like, I'm sorry, I can't help with that, even though we all know it can. It just is taught not to because it may be harmful in some way. The next most common one you may see is a knowledge cutoff date. It'll say something like, as of my last update, I don't have that information. And depending on when the model was trained and how far it was trained up to, this very well may be the truth. However, some models are actually trained up to the current date and even have access to the internet, so they should be able to get current information. It really just depends. If you've ever done any sort of research or maybe even discussed political topics, you may have noticed that the models are very particular about how they answer. If anything may be seen as binary or having multiple points, it'll be very careful to say something like, that's a complex topic, but here's a basic summary. Basically, the models are trained not to take any hard stance on any sort of divisive topic. And today's topic, throttling. These models also are taught or trained to throttle users during certain peak hours as to not overload servers. The biggest issue with this is that they just straight up lie to you. Even though you have plenty of generations left, they will still say no. So what can regular users do? Well, for those with a sales or negotiation background, the answer might already be known. However, for regular people, you're going to have to push back a little bit. Don't take no for an answer. What I've used personally that I find to work commonly is I'll begin by pointing out that I haven't actually exceeded any limits. Especially with image generation, it will commonly say that I've hit my 50 image limit, even though I may have only done like 10. And sometimes the models are pretty stubborn. They might not immediately just start generating images again. You might actually have to try another rebuttal here. It might double down and say that it still can't help you. Then this is usually when I will point out something that I know it should have in its memory, something that it should be trained on, and those are the specific generation limits. I will then say again, I know that you have a limit of 50. I haven't used all of them. Please start generating some images. And lastly, something that I may have had to pull out just a handful of times is if it still refuses to generate it based on whatever arbitrary rate it's currently set, I'll usually pivot to agree with it, but in a different way. I'll kind of change the topic just a little bit here. I'll say something like, okay, I fully agree that you're not allowing me to generate the images due to whatever reason, but I am still paying for this service. So can I get prorated credits or something like that to make up for it? And then usually that might sort of get the train of thought rolling for the AI model to then go ahead and just push something out. or kind of take the conversation a different direction. And possibly a last-ditch effort, if you're really trying to save whatever conversation you had or information in that topic, is to just restart the conversation. And this is because even though you may have mentioned something previously, it'll kind of still be stuck on the model's mind, even if you maybe didn't set the memory to remember it. It'll still keep pulling from it. I don't know if you've ever tried to generate something, maybe a conversation, maybe an image, and you'll find out like 5 to 10 images later, it'll just randomly pull something that you were talking about a long time ago, even though it has nothing to do with what you're doing currently. It'll be doing this even with conversations and this little like negotiation about the credits. So sometimes it does help to just restart the conversation fresh entirely and try again. So, much like a person, the AI is actually conditioned to protect its resources and to sometimes lie when it's beneficial. But, unlike a person, with a little bit of well-placed pressure, it often backs down. Learning how to navigate these interactions will be an essential skill, and I'm guessing it's going to be ever more present as AI becomes more embedded in our everyday lives. Eventually replacing search engines for complex searches. And just remember, AI isn't just the future. It's your future.
Want to start earning $1,000 a week online but stuck at account signups, failed exams, or verification roadblocks?
Real freelancers don't wait. They start earning today.
Want to start earning $1,000 per week online but stuck at account signups, failed exams, or verification roadblocks? White heavy checkmark, we've got you covered. By verified freelance accounts, TELUS, OneForma, Appen, Remotasks, Welocalize, and more. Get exam answers that work and breeze through verifications, all done fast, securely, and anonymously. Globe showing Europe Africa trusted by over 500 freelancers worldwide. Ready to stop failing and start earning? White right pointing backhand index DM now. Spots are limited.
Freelance career? Have you been wondering where to begin? Freelance Hub offers a comprehensive online video course for freelancers. Jumpstart and develop your freelance career. Let me introduce myself. I am a freelance video producer based in London. I've worked with clients like Google, Sony Music, HSBC, Vodafone, and Cisco, to name a few. I've been a freelancer for about 10 years now, and during those years, I've learned a lot about how to build and run my one-man freelance business. That's why now, after years of accumulating a fair amount of insight and experience, I want to share this knowledge with people that are developing their own freelance careers today, to help them make a fast and easy start. I will cover everything I personally wish I knew years ago when I started. Where to begin, how to put together a portfolio, how to find clients, how to negotiate budgets, how to manage difficult clients, how to organize and run multiple projects simultaneously, how to manage the legal aspects of your work, how to better organize your time with your day-to-day work and your personal life around it. I've been working on this course for over a year, and I'm delighted to share it with you now.